Hello, welcome back to Subculture. I'm your host, Kyle, and, well, the latest play that I've been able to catch is the new production of Frankenstein. And, well, just jumping right into it, uh, for anybody who doesn't know the story of Frankenstein, on a ship in the Arctic Ocean in the 18th century, an ambitious man feels very lonely. Now, the captain of this expedition wishes to reach the North Pole no matter the cost of his own life or the lives of his crew. In this foggy, frozen whiteness, the ship becomes trapped in the ice with no escape. Just then, the crew come across an emaciated and dying man who is in pursuit of a giant hulking figure. The weakened man is Dr. Victor Frankenstein, played by Darcy Brown, and he was once an ambitious individual himself. Now, as a young man, Victor was born into a wealthy Genevan family. His mother tragically died, yet he was still surrounded by love. He had his father, played here by Tony Gauguin, his young brother William, played by Chloe Juel, his adoptive sister Justine, played by Anna Leese Phillips, and his childhood chum Henry, played by Nick James. Most importantly, he had his beloved, the woman he plans to wed one day, Elizabeth, also played by Chloe Juel. I'll explain later. Now, he is accepted for a place at the prestigious University of Ingolstadt, and Victor throws himself into his studies with quite a disturbing goal. He wishes to create life itself by animating a human stitched together like a horrific patchwork quilt. More horrifically, he succeeds in doing so. Now, immediately upon seeing this creature, played by Jeremiah Ray, Victor knows that he has quite literally made a mistake. The creature's grotesque form and ungodly nature sends Victor into a madness of guilt which threatens to consume him. But Victor hasn't seen anything yet, as the creature is a living thing with powerful emotions and intellect, but an even more powerful sense of vengeance. And as humanity shuns this being, which never asked to be made in the first place, the creature blames its quote-unquote father for its pain. Victor Frankenstein thought he was creating life, but little did he know he was actually creating the means of his own desolation. Now, when she was only 18 years old, Mary Shelley began working on a manuscript which she would eventually publish in 2 years when she was 20, in the year 1818. Didn't realize just how many 18s were involved in the birth of Frankenstein. Now, she changed the literary world forever. The young woman had created one of the most memorable and influential horror stories, the impact of which we still feel now, over 200 years later. Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus, as it was called, has been adapted, parodied, reimagined, studied, and appreciated as one of the most iconic stories ever written. Now, Shake and Stir Theatre Company, as well as John Frost for Crossroads Live, present this new bombastic stage production of Frankenstein. The producers set out to pay tribute to Shelley's timeless classic with a show which would remain faithful yet also feel contemporary in its themes. Adapter Nell Lee and director Nick Skubich understand that Mary Shelley's work is already perfect, and their job is just to make it come to life on stage as spectacularly as possible, using new technology and new techniques. Now, in this way, there aren't too many surprises in store for those who are familiar with the Gothic tale. Boris Karloff's 1931 portrayal of the creature may be the most recognizable, but that film did take substantial liberties in the adaptation. However, this production follows much closer to the novel, and I think it will be really familiar to anyone who has seen Kenneth Branagh's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I know that's quite a mouthful. Or any other equally faithful adaptations. Like I said, it has been 200 years. Frankenstein has been adapted quite a few times. There have been some changes and additions made, many of which I think add more agency or dialogue for the play's female characters. And it's interesting, but if I'm being honest, the fate of the women in Victor's life, it really does remain the same, and I think that extra time spent with them would have been better spent elsewhere. The play is just a little over 2 hours long with a 20-minute intermission, and certain parts of the story seem rushed, while others they feel like time has been taken with them. For instance, it's almost as if the creature takes longer to take his first steps, and this is an incredible moment which showcased the physicality of Jeremiah that Jeremiah Ray brings to the role. But he seems to take longer taking his first steps than Victor does in making his ultimate decision to play God in the first place. But having said that, the story may be familiar, but it's in how the horror is brought to the stage which makes it such a joy to experience. Starting with the cast, I was impressed by the versatility of all involved. Brown's Victor goes from being this cocky and ambitious medical student to just this hysterical wreck, while Jeremiah Way, who is himself under makeup, which it takes apparently hours each night to apply and another hour to remove at the end of the night, he transforms in the opposite direction, with his creature's mute and childlike innocence falling away to a wrath-filled, although quite eloquent-speaking demon figure. Like I said, it's all stuff that you already know the characters will go through, but it's still interesting to watch. And the supporting cast show their skills, with each of them portraying multiple characters. I didn't know why there wasn't an actual cast list. I mean, there is a cast list in the playbook, but there isn't a list of what characters they're playing, because many of them are playing multiple characters. They also supply a window into Victor's mind as they jointly narrate his thoughts and then later on his growing guilt. Chloe Zule, she's amazing, playing both the beautiful Elizabeth but also the young boy William. But the only downside being that these dual roles mean that she can't be on stage as both characters at the same time, despite how incredibly fast her wardrobe changes happen. So the show is first and foremost a technical marvel. The Princess Theatre has recently seen some incredibly complex productions, be it Sunset Boulevard or, more noteworthy, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Now, I've seen several productions there myself, and yet I was still blown away by just what was accomplished and what this cozy theatre was capable of. The full story of Frankenstein is told here with use of rear projections, sets, moving stages, pyrotechnics, stunts, fog, and constantly changing costumes. Things begin with a jaw-dropping introduction as this giant ship just rises out of the fog, and the huge sails of which they reach pretty much as high as the theater's roof will allow. There's transitions from one scene to another, which are smooth, and scenery disappears and reappears and moves about, as well as the characters walk about, thanks to the Princess Theatre's rotating stage floor. The choreography of this whole production is really quite impressive. I will say, though, I think it's best experienced as close to the center of the house as possible. I mean, this sounds like an obvious suggestion. Of course, you'd want to be front, middle stage as close as you can, but I found myself further to stage left, and I think further to the stage left or further to the stage right, and I think you're more prone to have an obscured view of the stage or the actors, and I think you'll perhaps see a little bit too much behind the curtain, so to speak. You tend to see props being pushed up in the darkness in the background, which you wouldn't see because they are hidden if you were sitting right in the middle of the theater. You kind of see a little bit too much of things that you're not supposed to see, and a little bit too little of the things that you are supposed to see, is what I'm saying. Still, the technical innovations that this contemporary production incorporates, it really makes it a must-see for theater lovers. So I think that this is a fabulous production of a classic story, which is delivered with all the electricity and ferocity that it deserves. And in a time where advancements in artificial intelligence have us questioning whether there are some lines that mankind shouldn't cross, Frankenstein feels as relevant as ever. It's an amazing cast, which is backed up by an outstanding technical achievements, and it ensures that even if you know the story off by heart, there's plenty in this production which will take your breath away. So, Frankenstein is currently playing for a strictly limited seasons at the Princess Theatre, Melbourne. It's playing there until the 1st of September. And the Theatre Royale, Sydney, until from the 28th of September until the 13th of October. Now, for tickets, you have to visit frankensteinlive.com.au. And yeah, go out and check it out.